Hello, and welcome to A Life Too Sweet podcast. My name is Dana. I am a Christian, and it is the last podcast of the year. It's actually Thursday. It is the day before New Year's, and I'm doing my last podcast of the year. I'm a grateful Christian. I am grateful for this year. It's been a really awesome year for me of growth and learning and changing, and I put up a little end of the year type of thing on my Facebook, which I always do. I actually put it on my original one for more of my personal friends and stuff. So I thought maybe I would, well, actually I'm just thinking this right now, that I'll go over the past year and how amazing it has been and how awesome things have been for me and how crazy the year has been and all that good stuff. That's what we're going to get into today. It seems, last minute thoughts. Life is going really well. This year I in the beginning, I really focused on 3 elements to life that I do believe are very important. The spirit, which is on top, the mind and body. And the reason why I put the spirit on top is because it's number 1. It's the most important, because if I don't live in the spirit, then I am not alive. I'm living for Satan. And this is something, of course, I've learned in this year. And I do think these 3 things are important. And I have noticed that I have kind of fallen on the other 2, the body and mind. Maybe not the mind. Yeah, maybe, the body definitely, because I haven't been working out and I haven't been eating very well. And I guess that has happened since I have returned back to the Father. I forgave my mother, and I apologized for resenting her, and that was the big thing. And so now everything has changed, but those things are still there, the mind, body, and spirit, which are very important. But now that I realize that the spirit, the weird thing is I never really thought of the spirit being inside me, but it's inside me, right? And it's either a good spirit that I'm living through God's spirit, or I'm living for Satan. And I never really knew that. So I don't know why I thought of it as being outside, even though, that's kind of weird. That's kind of something that hit me right there. I always looked at it as an outside thing, the spirit, which is crazy, right? Because the Spirit of God is within us, and it is awesome that it's that way. So I don't know, that just kind of hit me right there. But let's talk about the year. Man, this year has been a year of 2 tales, I would say, right? First would be the beginning of the year. I started going to school for life coaching. And I spent some money on this and time, and I started it, and then COVID hit, and it was online, so that made it really good because I was able to still finish it up. It was a very interesting thing. I learned how to be a life coach, and I started life coaching. I felt like God told me this, and really the crazy thing was I realized it wasn't God, but at that time I really believed that, okay, this is God telling me do this. And I started coaching some people, and it was one person. It was actually a guy that I stuck with for a while, and I saw that he wasn't changing. There was like the ups and downs. Like it sounded like, I'm like, oh, you're doing so great, but he really was just talking the talk, but not really changing. And I saw it, but I didn't think much of it. Then I actually coached somebody else that I knew, and she was talking all the talk, and everything sounded great, and she was seeing things, but she was in the same situations. Nothing changed. She was living the same way. Nothing changing, right? And so I'm sitting there going, okay. At that time, I thought she changed and everything was great. But as I look back, actually, maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago or something like that, I looked back and realized, like, wow, she's in the same situation she was in before. Nothing changed. And so those things really hit me and it made me think, So so that was going on, right? I did all that. I was working for a place, and I was doing some pro bono, and I'm feeling like things are changing, and I'm doing so great, and I'm helping these people out. And I think I'm doing it for the right reasons, and I'm feeling like I'm doing it for the right reasons. I want to help people, and that's how I was feeling. And that's what I was believing. And I really believed it. I really felt it. I didn't think there was anything about me. I didn't think it was anything me trying to prove anything or no kind of ego. I really didn't think it had anything to do with ego. I always thought it was God and he had put me on this earth for that. But as I think back now, I really fully didn't believe that. And it's really weird that I can feel and believe something, but deep down, I know that it's not right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've been like that with a lot of things, to where I did things, but I knew they weren't right. And then there were some things where I did and I knew they were wrong, but I continued doing them. And it was almost like the same feeling, but it just seemed like they were a little further apart. Kind of hard to explain that, but I was feeling that. And I was kind of feeling a little bit like I was doing this so that I could have this purpose, like there's a purpose in our lives, what's my purpose? And I think all my life it was always, what is my purpose? And I have to find that purpose. And I thought it was going to be in sports, and I thought it was going to be in psychology, and I thought it was going to be in radio. I never thought it was going to be in DJing. I always wanted to do that for fun. But I thought it was going to be in radio. And then when I went to school for X-ray and CAT scan, I just thought, okay, this is it. Maybe I'll move up and up and up, and I'll go and I got my MRI license, and, maybe I'll go and get my bachelor's degree. And like, it was always trying to find the purpose. What's my purpose? And I realized that today that was wrong, but that's where I was. So that's kind of where I was in the beginning of the year. I kind of was like doing the life coaching, starting my business right. I got a YouTube channel. I mean, I had a YouTube channel before, but then I finally got one for my coaching. I'm setting that all up. I paid for it. I'm doing the podcast, doing all these different things for my coaching. And like, there's a lot of platforms, and there's time to figure them out. There's time, and it's money, and it costs money, and I did a lot of stuff, I came up with a name. I went and got it. I got an LLC license for a Life Too Sweet coaching, and I really put in a lot of time, and that was really interesting, right? And plus, I was also doing Celebrate Recovery, and I was becoming a leader. I was a leader, but I really was trying to do more. I wanted to actually take over some things, because I just felt like the leader there just wasn't stepping up, and I wanted to step up. But I really felt like he's the leader. He should kind of step up, but I didn't want to step on his toes, but I started to get deeper into it. And I actually was telling him, the leader, that I was going to do more, that I was going to write up a list of things that maybe I could take over, and I could help him get others to help. So I could kind of help delegate, because he just had some issues with delegating it. So that's where I was. Let's see, maybe it was like October. And I was really supposed to talk to him in October. So here I am. I'm kind of moving up in that. Really digging deep into my life coaching business. I also added where I was going to have my website revamped. I was going to have somebody come up with a plan of how, like a plan of action, and she was going to help me. I just started that with her, and I was like really deep into this and stuff. And I was really having a good time. To be honest, I was having a really good time with it. And so that was going on. Now let's go to November. Okay, so I'm kind of hanging around, and I like to watch. I'm into politics. I'm pretty conservative, so I'm really conservative. And I like to listen to different conservative shows on YouTube and stuff. And I like to just go from like video to video to video. And so they do these things, A Thug Life for Ben Shapiro. And somebody puts clips of all these times where Ben Shapiro like just shuts down different people, And so I'm listening to that, and all of a sudden one pops up with this guy, Jesse Lee Peterson. And I watch him, and he's saying like things that just seem kind of crazy, but they make a lot of sense to me. And I'm going, this really kind of makes sense to me, this guy. And all of a sudden he starts talking about the mothers and how we need to forgive our mother. And the way he was talking about women, I saw. And it was like, as I was going, like just as I'm going in recovery, like I'm in this, Celebrate Recovery is a 12-step recovery program, Christian-based, and it's for a lot of different things. It's for codependency, anger, fear, resentment, all these different things, right? And I really was big on codependency, because I felt like my mom was like a codependent, and she was very controlling. And I always saw that, and I would bring it up with my family, and they disagreed with me. And so I would say a lot of these things, and I would get shut down. And I started realizing that was my mom and how controlling she was, and I started catching those things. So this was going on at the same time, like a lot before. Actually, a few months, actually probably the last year, I've been noticing this stuff even more and more with my mother. And I started noticing I was kind of resenting her and getting really angry. Like I was really resenting her. And then all of a sudden, I see this guy, Jesse Lee Peterson. I go and I watch him talking about women, and I'm starting to hear him talk about that women are controlling and how they push you away from a relationship with your father. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly what I felt my mom was doing. And I've really been going through this for a while, going, what is going on, you know? And so once I listened to him, he talked about forgiving. And so I thought, well, since I'm in a 12-step program, let me do a 4-step on my mother. And so I called my sponsor. I call her up and I say, hey, listen, I want to do a 4-step on my mother because I have this resentment on her and I need to get it out. So she goes, all right, listen, I'm going to send you the paper that I like to use for the 4-step, and you just write a 4-step. So I'm sitting at work and I'm writing this 4-step down, and all of a sudden I realize this revelation of a moment when I realized that I wanted to have a relationship with my father, that I needed the father-daughter relationship, and how it affected me in the way I acted. And because I saw in my family boys with their fathers and the connection they had, I thought, well, to have a good connection with my father, it would be better if I was a boy. And that revelation hit me, and I just started bawling. I just started crying. I was at work, and I was working overnight, and I just bawled. And after that, I was like, I need to go and forgive my mother, man. I really do. So I'm like, I better get this thing done, this 4-step. So I go and I listen to Jesse Lee Peterson's show again, and he was talking about it. And I think I was driving from Target, and I was just like, that's it. I'm going to meet my mom, and I'm going to forgive her, and I'm going to apologize for resenting her, because the resentment was what was holding me back. And I really felt that it was the resentment that was holding me back, because I didn't understand it at that time, but it makes sense that how could I resent somebody and hate somebody else? And now I thought I loved my mom. I really did. I thought I loved her, but I just said it so that, because people say that that's what love is. Like, you have to love him. She's my mom. And I do believe she did the best she could. And I definitely did believe that, but I knew what she did, and it was confusing, and I didn't know how to forgive. I didn't know what it would do. I didn't know any of this type of stuff. I just knew that I just gonna do it. I'm not even gonna finish the 4-step with my sponsor. I'm going straight to my mother. So I call her up and say, Mom, listen, can I come over today and we can talk? So I do it. I forgive her. And then everything had changed, right? So basically what happened after that, the first thing I knew to do was stop my business, stop doing life coaching. So I called the person that I was coaching. I told him that I'm unable to coach anymore. And I recommended him speak with a male over a woman, because knowing that, I didn't know it at that moment, but noticing now that, the man can't go to a woman, you know what I mean? Like, he needs to go to another man, because the man is over the woman, and I can't teach the man, and he needs to go straight to God instead of me, So I knew that. I got that. I did that. I had to actually call the guy from Celebrate Recovery and let him know. Now, of course, remember, I'm telling you that I was moving up in there. I was starting to be more of a leader and take more of a role, an active role in Celebrate Recovery. And when I told him, he was just like, well, this kind of comes as a shock, right? But it was interesting. It was an interesting conversation. I told him what I was going through. He really didn't understand, but he was very gracious, and I do appreciate that. And so that happened. And then, of course, now I got to go call the woman that I spoke with about working on my website and stuff. And she was a little confused as well. But, the conversation went well. And you can hear my doggy in the background coming to bother me. But so that conversation went well. And, it went well. It was a little tension, but it was good. It was good. It got over, and I was able to do that, and I was able to be honest and let her know that if I need, because I did have a contract with her, and I said, whatever I need to do to fulfill the contract, please let's do that. So I had to cut that, and the crazy thing was, it was right away. I knew that I had to cut that. And so since then, I have a transformation podcast up to today, 5 different episodes all about this, and I put a lot of this in there. But that brings me to the November when it happened, and I forgave my mom, and how everything has really changed, and how I feel and how things are changing. Really amazing things. Work has been amazing. I have no anger, no fear. To be honest, I love people like I never loved before. I have no fear of like stepping up and speaking. So if somebody I know, like maybe a coworker, is like hard to talk to or something, I didn't notice it. You know what I'm saying? I had to give somebody some bad news or a little bit of news, and everybody was talking about like, oh my God, wait till you tell him. And I was just like, I'm just gonna tell him. Like, this is the way it is. So it didn't bother me. It wasn't bad. I didn't feel for him. If the way he felt, this is the job, this is what's gonna happen, and that's it. Nothing I could do about it. And things happen, at my job that before would really bother me and upset me, and I would maybe lash out or be rude to patients. And I've noticed that I'm just so calm. I'm more relaxed, less anxiousness. It's just been really good that way at work. So work's been really good. The other thing I had done too in the past was in the beginning of the year, I went to part-time at my job because of starting that business. But I'm still part-time, but I added a day. And so I'm doing that now. Also, I've been interested in doing music again. I put my turntables back up. Setting that up. Maybe I'll do a live DJ set or something like that. I'm looking at different platforms and stuff like that. I'm looking at this thing called DLive. They have some cool stuff. I don't know if maybe I'll just go live on there one day. I don't know. So I'm working on all that. I got my turntables set up right next to me, and I can put the microphone over there as well, and I could talk over the music and do different mixes. Maybe I like all different types of music. I like house break beats. If you're in Florida, I like Florida breaks. Don't know if you know what those are, but they're really, really awesome. I like drum and bass. I don't know if you guys remember Jump Up back in the 90s. I like that kind of stuff. I like hip hop, but I don't really spin it because I'm not really good at it. I don't really like playing it. I just might play a record here and there, but I don't like to really spin it. I also like pop music lately. I'm thinking about possibly doing some pop music. That should be fun. So that's really what I've been planning on doing now. The other thing really is living in the moment is pretty much a newer thing. Usually I'm caught up in my head, and I've learned a lot about that and how to just let the thoughts pass and to not sit with them, because Satan's really slick. Satan will come up with these things, and he can get me going, and I can get lost. Like I could say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do my podcast on this, and I start saying all these things, and I come on my podcast and I don't talk about any of that stuff. So it's really crazy, So I'm really noticing that this year, seeing Satan and what he's doing and how he's controlled my life and stuff. So that's part of it too. That's part of the year. But let's just say 2020 has been a different type of a year. I know for most people, 2020 has been tough. I get it. I do get it. But that's the other thing that I've noticed since forgiving and returning back to God. I don't worry about that stuff. It's almost like it doesn't affect me. And I don't feel bad for others who it does affect. I wish them well, and I hope the best for them. And I hope that, people don't get it, and if they do, that they live through it. And I hope everybody well in this situation, because it does stink to realize how much it can affect you and you not even get the virus. I mean, watching the world be affected by something that may not even ever get in their lives. And they're so affected by it day by day by day. Their whole day is talking about something that they'll never get. They'll never know what it's like to have, but they're fearful of it. And they walk around with masks and body armor up in here. And it's interesting to watch. It's really interesting to watch. I saw somebody driving yesterday to work, and I look to the right, and I see somebody, and he's got like the raincoats. It looks like a raincoat over him, and I'm like, the guy's walking outside with a mask and a raincoat. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? But I don't know. It's interesting to me. I don't really know how to explain that because I have to come up with new words because the words that I used to use, like, I'll say this is crazy, but it's not crazy. That's not the right word to use. And another thing I noticed about words, people are so hung up on words. They don't even have to be true. Now, let's just think about it. If somebody murders somebody, right? There's been murders, right? People kill people. They kill people for all these different reasons, right? We can say, oh, they're prejudiced, right? Or they hate, they're Democrat or they're Republican. Or, because black people kill, white people kill, Republicans kill, but they all kill for a word, for a reason. But what's the true reason? Well, the true reason is they're angry. And when you're angry, you will find something to be angry at. You ever really mad about something and then you take it out on somebody else? You ever do that? Like, say you're mad. You're just mad about, I don't know, you're mad because you just woke up mad. And two people that one day that you woke up mad, say they were both black. Let's just say they're both black. And they both had the same kind of accents or something. They're both from the South or something. Now, you're going to start hating people who are black from the South because they did whatever they did. And because you've seen those two people, that's what you're going to use. Or Satan's going to tell you, look at that black woman, or look at that person from the South. They think they're better than you because they're from the South. Or, they're slow. Or whatever you think about people from the South. I don't know, right? And you're going to hate because of that. Because you were mad that day. And then Satan's going to go, oh man, is that woman, that's because she's from the South, and she thinks she's better than you. That's what she thinks. And then you listen to that voice, and then now you're mad about something else, right? Your dog dies, and now your uncle dies, there's COVID, and now you're like pissed off, and you remember that woman, and you remember what Satan told you, because Satan makes sure he brings that back up, and now you're so angry, you kill, right? Bam, you kill. Now, what are they all going to say? Well, you know what? That person killed a black Southern person. They're prejudiced. And, so prejudice is the thing we use, prejudice, and that's the word we use. And that's the word. And the truth is, the real problem was your anger. And because you were an angry person. And the reason why you're an angry person is because you don't know God. Because you think you're better than somebody else. Because you haven't forgiven. Because your bad isn't as bad as their bad. Their bad is really bad. But your bad, it's not that bad. Because we put bad in categories. Evil is evil. There's no categories for evil. But we as human beings, for some reason, well, I know the reason. It's Satan. He comes up with these things and you just fall for it. Hook, line, and sinker. And that's the real reason why we are in situations that we're in with anger. Because just let's think about this. Remember all those school shootings? Why are there school shooting after school shooting after school shooting? Well, it's kids that are unhappy, they're angry, and they see somebody else do it, so then they do it. What about the next thing? Look at what's happening now. Bombs. People are blowing stuff up. Well, when one person does it, it goes again and again and other people. So they take their anger, which everybody has that isn't with God, and they do something with it. It could be just hating somebody. It could be murder. It could be treating people differently because of their look or whatever. It could be all these different ways. And they're all evil. None of them are better than the other. Evil is evil is evil. And good is good is good. That's it. There's no, well, this is kind of good and this is not really good. No, it's either evil or it's good. That's it. But we like to put these little labels on it so that we can put it in these little categories. And that's really the big issue with words. And I realized that words, what does it say in the Bible about that, right? The tongue. That's exactly what they're talking about in the Bible. The tongue, what we say, the words we say, how we talk to people. And why do we talk to people that way? Well, we know that it's because of anger. I know it's because of anger because the things I was doing because I was angry were just crazy to where I was judging people, and I had no right to judge. I had no right to judge because I make mistakes and I hurt people too, and I was doing evil. And I was doing things that were wrong over and over and over again. And then judging others. Now, I can discern and say this person is doing evil. That's not judging them. But if I say it and then go, oh, that person should go to hell, and that person should die, that person should be hurt, just like they hurt me, that is evil. That is evil. And that's not of God. That's not of God. Just think about that. Would that be of a God who's all loving? He can't hate anybody. Doesn't that make sense? So why would I be born again and do the same things that I was doing before? That's one thing that really makes no sense to me. Why would I do that? That doesn't make sense. If I truly believe what God says, if I truly believe that I'm supposed to live here on earth as it is in heaven, if I'm supposed to be able to live for God and live the way he talks about in the Bible, he doesn't say, wait to die and then you can live in my kingdom. He talks about living in his kingdom here on earth. Jesus didn't die for me to die. Jesus died so I could live, not live after I die. Do you understand it? It's like you can die while we're here. And that's really killing that ego. That's killing that I'm better than you and I know more than you and I knew it before you knew it and I know more verses in the Bible than you know. Like, right? That's crazy. So I don't know where I'm going off in a little tangent, but I really learned a lot this year. I learned all the things that I just mentioned. I learned that my ego is big, right? The first half of this podcast and the first half of this year, I really saw myself as the one that's going to help these people. And I can't do anything without God. Now, God can help me do things. God can show me and teach me and let me see things so that I can help others because of the way I live. Because when I'm at work and the patient's yelling at me and I don't react, and this patient is unhappy and I still treat her with love and respect, they're going to see that and go, well, Dana's really changed. I don't see that anger and that evil in her. And then maybe they'll want what I have. That's it. That's really all that I can do. That's all that I can give. Now, God has a plan. He has something for my life that maybe I don't know yet. I really have no clue what his intention is and what he's going to do. But I'm just living. I'm a human being that's living, and God is going to be controlling me. And right now I'm still, the ego's still been dying, and I'm still learning a lot. And I know that God he's doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but each day as I do the silent prayer and I sit with him and I just let him reveal, that's when everything gets better. That's when I'm feeling better. That's when I'm in the moment. I'm with God. I'm not in my thoughts, and my life has become so much better. I am so blessed, so grateful. I'm grateful for all the little things that I have. Even today, I was thinking about how grateful I am at my job, that I've always been respected as a person at my job. And many of these people are not Christians, but they respect me as a person. And I am very blessed to have such a great job and people treating me well. Just really, really grateful. I'm grateful for this year. I'm grateful for all the changes. I'm grateful for God. I'm grateful for repentance. I'm grateful that I could live and not live to die. That just really killed me. Dying inside. I was just dying inside. Dying. I could feel the dying, and now I feel alive. I feel like, what it talks about in the Bible. So he says I could live in the kingdom. And I'm excited to be able to continue to live that way. Man, I can't believe I was living to die. It really hits me hard when I think about that. Like I was just living to die. Imagine that. And we all are. Listen to Christians. Listen to Bible thumping Christians. Listen to what they say. Oh, this is a hard life. It's so hard here. But we get to live with God down the road and stuff. It's like, no, he's in you. The Spirit's in. If I believe that the Spirit is in me, how can I think that I can't live in the Spirit? And I remember reading books about living in the Spirit. And I'm like, I hear this guy talking about living in the Spirit. Andrew Murray. I used to listen to this guy, Andrew Murray. And he's talking about it. And it makes sense. But I'm like, but it's not helping me. I'm still not living in the Spirit. Why don't I trust God? And why don't I live in the Spirit? Ask yourself that question if you think I'm crazy. Ask yourself that question. If the Spirit is in you, how come you can't live like Christ did? If he puts his Spirit inside you, how come you're not living like that? How come you still have codependency, anger, fear, resentment? How come you don't know true love? How come you're emotional? Ask those questions to yourself. Really ask those questions. And if you think that doesn't make sense, seriously in your heart, look at repenting. Look at forgiving. Really. Maybe it's not the same story that I have. Maybe you can't see your mother for who she really is. And maybe your father left. And maybe he couldn't handle your mom. And maybe he left and he was a guy going out sleeping with a bunch of women. Maybe that's who he was. But look at why. Look at maybe what your mother did and what your father did. And really look at them and see if you have any resentments. And see if maybe you realize that I'm not living the way I want to live. I'm not living the way it says that I could live with the Spirit in me. If I have the Spirit and I'm still living the way I lived before, why? Ask yourself that question. Because I asked myself that question a few times. But when I listened to my friends that were reading the Bible, they would try to twist it around and tell me this and that. And I'm like, why am I angry and why do I hate God? Because I did hate him. I was like, well, why do I have to be on this earth and it's so horrible? Like, what you're telling me that I could live this great life and I'm angry and fearful. And yes, I had resentments against God. And the reason why I did is because I didn't really know him. I had no clue who he was because I had fear and anger. I had anger in my heart. I had no love. That emotional love I had was not love. That was from Satan himself, because I can see it today. And God has allowed me to see it and watch it happen in other people's lives. And it saddens me in a way that it's just like, oh man, that really stinks. That person is going to grow up and go through these things and maybe never get to find God. And there's a lot of people out there that are telling us different things because they think that they can save us. Like I thought I could save everybody by being a life coach. If one person comes to Celebrate Recovery, their life will change. And their lives weren't changing. They're living in the same crap. They're still seeing psychiatrists, taking pills, medication for a spiritual issue. It's a spiritual issue. My anger is gone because God takes things away just like that. He can do all things. Some things are going to take time. I mean, my ego is still dying, but the pain is nothing compared to the pain I was dying in my sins. I was dying in anger. I was dying in fear. I was dying in resentment. I needed a human being to make me happy. If I didn't have my dog, I was sad. When I was at work, I was sad. I was missing something. I was yearning for something, and I had no clue it was my father. I never knew that I was separated from my father fully. I didn't fully get it. But once I gave up and I said, God, I'm going to forgive and I want to return back to you, my life changed. Now, I didn't realize that I was going to change so much. I really didn't know what was going to happen. But now I know that I know. I know that the things are actually changing. Because go look at the people that you know that are Christians. and see if they're still living the same life, if they're still sleeping around, if they're still cheating and lying, stealing, um, angry. If those things are still happening and they're saying that they're a child of God, does that sound right? I thought the same thing with me. I was like, I have to fight so hard not to sleep with somebody and get in a relationship. But today it's just like, I'm full. I don't need anything. I don't need a man. I don't need anything really. And I'm really, hoping and that God will really show me how to love him. Well, not show me how to love him, but just show me how to be fully for him and nothing else. And that's just as the ego dies. And he allows that all to happen for me. There's nothing I can do to make it happen. It's just he knows my heart, and I'm seeing who I was before. And I'm starting to almost remember about some of the things when I was younger and how I felt and stuff, because when I'm in that moment of where I'm with God and I'm not in my thoughts, it's an almost familiar feeling. Like I remember feeling this way as a kid. One more story before I end. I was watching Teen Moms. I've been watching Teen Moms for 11 years since it started, and now I'm more aware of things. And I'm watching this family, and there's one family where there's a young girl, Addie. She's really young, and then the girl has twin daughters, and one of the twin daughters has a rare illness, and it's an illness that can affect her lungs, can affect her all her body and everything, and that COVID happened, and so she's talking to her children about COVID, and she goes to the young girl. Now the young girl is still really close to God. Now we still are living through God as young kids, and then as our parents kind of mess with us, we start going further away. And so I'm watching her go to the young girl, saying to her, listen, you're not going to be able to do your extra activities after school anymore because we got to be careful with COVID for your sister. And I see the way Addie responds. It was pretty interesting. She's just like, oh, I can't go. Okay. And that's it. I can't go. That's it. No, well, why? Not asking questions, not, well, I feel this way. No feelings. I could see no feelings. It was just like, oh, okay. Like, but then the mother goes, listen, you know why we have to do this, right? And then she just looks at her, she looks at her like, I don't know, really. It seemed like it. She went, and then the mother goes, it's because we got to really be careful of your sister. She has a disease. And, this could affect her. And then she kind of put her hand on her and was like, you understand? And she's just like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Then I go see her talk to her older daughter and the other twin. And she's like, listen, I know that you like to do your thing. But we really got to be careful for Addie, for the other sister. And then she's like, yeah, I know. She goes, I was, saddened about it, and I know I have to do that. And she goes, I wrote a text message. So she went over the text message. It was very emotional. And then the mother was just being more emotional with her. Like, we really have to do this first. She's like, I know. And she's giving her all these emotions, and I'm thinking, man, she shouldn't be doing that. Like, I think she's really messing with her. And it was really weird that I'm thinking this because I'm seeing it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I see the young girl, and she's with God, because that's exactly how God is. He would, there's no emotion there. Like, I could see that she's feeling that way because I'm the same way now. I'm like that as well. And then I see her, the mother, and I'm like, man, she's really trying. She's trying so hard to really help her children. Sincere. She really thinks this is the right way to do it. And I bet you most of you are thinking the same thing that are watching this. But I'm just going, wow, that's not good what she's doing. Like, that's really messing them kids up. And I could tell that kid's already away from God, because I could see she was emotional just like her mother was emotional. And now, I don't know, because I don't show the father as much as her, but I noticed that the women are very emotional. And the men, you can tell that they're not as emotional. They're more like, yeah, we got to do that. Like, they just listen to what the woman says, and then they kind of repeat it a lot of times, right? They're not, and I notice that the men are not, they'll wait for the woman to say it, and then they go, oh, and then they just agree with the woman. And I'm seeing that the men that are away from the father won't say to the mother no, and be the father, be the man. The man should be assertive, more assertive in saying something like, how he feels first. Listen, I know this is what we need to do. And, be more assertive like that, like a man should be. I mean, I don't really even know exactly how the man should be, because I'm not a man, but I do know that he should be ahead of her and really be the one teaching these children, because the way the woman's teaching them is very emotional, and that's definitely not of God. And it's just really interesting to see. And when I saw it, it was not even like it was just I knew it. And I see it. And I do hear like Jesse Lee Peterson talking about this, but it never made sense to me. He's saying it and I'm like, whatever, I don't understand that. So I'm not really paying attention to a lot of those things. But now I'm listening to him still, and I'll hear him say that. I'll hear him say like the emotional woman, and I'm like, that totally makes sense, because I can see it. And then I can see the men cowering, and I'm seeing how the men are unable to handle the woman. And two of the different groups, there's a girl that she's like Spanish and the guy's black. And then there's another one where, they have such a cute little daughter, and she's trying really hard, but the woman's really taken over. And the man is like he is such a weakling. The woman is his God, 100%. I mean, she's really controlling, and he got upset. He left. He came back, and he busted the window. And of course, she calls the cops, and now you can't see the child. She's trying to push the child away. She was doing it before, too. And I saw her. She even said it, that you can't come see the child, and I'll tell you when you can see the child. And so she's going to use the child because she knows he loves the child. And you could see it in him. And they had an interview with him, and then an interview with the other guy, and the black guy. And he was like, he got so mad at her because he told her, like, you're trying to control and you're trying to keep me away from my daughter. And he ended up doing something kind of bad. Like, he sent her phone number out to everybody. It's kind of funny. But he couldn't handle her, so he did that. So now he's the bad guy. And all the women, and they all live together too, which is the sad part for those poor daughters. And they're all going, he said about me, and he said, oh, your family, that means me. And he can't come here. And so now and I'm like, and the guy was trying. The guy was trying to pick up his daughter because the mother was like, you need to help me. So then he starts helping her, and now it's not the way she wants it because he was late a few times. And now, you don't do it my way, I'm going to cut you off. And so he gets mad. He does something that he shouldn't probably do, right? He shouldn't have given her number out. And now he's the bad guy. And I bet you everybody watching it is going, he's the bad guy. But then they interviewed these two guys, and both of them said, she tries to control. She tries to control me, and it really pisses me off, and I just can't handle it. That's exactly the truth. And then the other one says the same thing. She's trying to keep me from my daughter. She's trying to keep me from my daughter. And I see what she's doing. They both see it, but they can't do nothing about it because the woman is their God. And the woman knows that the father is like loves his children. The fathers love their children. They do. But you see what happens. So I'm starting to see all these things, and it's only because of God. And that's really what's happening to me. That's what this year has been. That's probably the last thing that God really revealed. And that's what it means, I kind of think, to reveal. It's just like how I can explain it. I mean, is just, you just know it. When I'm watching this, I'm seeing it. And I'm seeing relationships. I'm seeing people at work and how they treat their husbands and how they bring their husbands down, like they're above their husbands, and they're trying to take the role of the man, and the man is taking the role of the woman. And you see it happening, and this is exactly what Satan wants. He wants to ruin us, and that's what he does, and that's exactly what happens. So I'm really going over on this. So I usually try to do like about 35 minutes, but I'm going long. It is the end of the year. 2020 is ending. 2021 is going to come up. I'm really excited about 2021. It's going to be a great year. I don't know what I'm going to do, but God has a plan, and I'm going to stick to it, whatever it is. So thank you guys for checking out my channel. So this is a Life Too Sweet, my YouTube channel. I have a Life Too Sweet coaching podcast, and you can check that out on all major podcast sites. You can download this. You can send it. You can give it to your friends. You can tell them, this is some crazy girl I know who found God, and she's got this crazy story. Whatever you want to do with it, you can do with it. So check it out. And I actually am working on a video. I need to do that tomorrow. I did a little vlog of a day, what was going on, and things were getting revealed to me in real time, and I put it up on my vlog. So I'm working on that. That's going to be up on this channel, A Life Too Sweet YouTube. Check it out. Keep checking out my channel. I'm going to try to put stuff up, but I don't know when I'm going to do it. I'm like the worst YouTuber in the world because I never put things up at certain days and certain times. I just kind of put them up. I'm also trying to work on putting a mix up. I say this, I don't know if it's going to happen. To be honest with you, I have no clue. I'm not one of those people that is going to be like, all right, every week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right now, this is what I'm going to do. Because I don't know. Because who knows? God might tell me tomorrow, shut it all down, do nothing. I don't know. But I'm living in the moment. I'm enjoying life. 2020 has been such a great year for me. I do hope everybody does well in 2021. This stupid, ridiculous COVID stuff goes away so that others can enjoy their lives for a little bit. Yes, so that's it. That's all I got. Remember, guys, God is good all the time. You ain't good. Neither am I. Only God is. You guys have a good one, and I will see you guys in the next podcast. Bye.